our students who are going to work in this field. So use this opportunity to ask a lot of questions to Mr. Aditya, who is an expert in this field. Okay, I'm going to structure this talk into the following. The first 30 minutes is going to be presentation by Mr. Aditya, and then it will be followed by discussion. Okay, now the time is yours, Mr. Aditya. You can do your presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for
Mr. Yudit and Mrs. Yudit and Mr. Don Foss is still here. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you for your nice introduction. I will share my screen now. Okay, good morning everybody, or maybe good afternoon or good night, depending on your region. Today I will present my research in group theory. Actually, in group theory, not in graph theory, but we use some graph to describe the group. Okay, the aim of my research is to know the group better. We know that groups consist of set of elements and the binary operation between those elements. Only that we don't have connection between elements, we don't have distance between elements, and we don't have shape of the group. So we just know groups something abstract. There is nothing beauty in terms of geometry of the group. So we want to define a distance between element in group or the shape of the group. Okay, so we use graph to do that. Okay, so this is the aim of my research. Okay, in this talks, I will talk about identity graph of a group, and then the coprime graph of a group, and also non-coprime graph of the group. Okay, we also have another hierarchy of graph that define on a group, but today I will focus on these three. Okay, first I want to introduce to audience about dihedral graph. A dihedral group is a symmetric group of a regular polygon. Okay, this is the polygon. The word regulars mean that the length of each side is equal, or the distance between the corner is equal. Okay. Okay. Formally, a dihedral group is group that generate by two elements that we call rotation element and reflection element. Okay. And we give notation D to N. N means that the degree, or maybe the order of rotation element is N. Okay, and the order of reflection element must be 2. Okay, so from this notation we know that the inverse of B is B itself, and the inverse of A is B times A times B inverse. But we know that B inverse is equal to B, so we can change that B inverse with B. Okay. Let me give some example to you. Okay. If N is 3, we have D6. D6 consists of 6 elements: identity A square, B, AB, and A square B. Okay, I will give some geometry representation to understand what those element mean. Okay. Okay, because n is 3, it's mean that the regular polynomial is a equilateral triangle. Okay. Okay. We know that this triangle is have a symmetry. Okay. The first one is the rotation symmetry. Okay. If we rotate this triangle 120 degree, we have this the exact same triangle. But if I give number in each corner, we can see that the number 1 is rotate into number 2 and also number 2 and number 3. It is rotate 120 degree. This is the first symmetry, and we call it A. We give notation A. Okay, and the second one is the rotation of 240 degree. Okay, so it's clear that this rotation is the first rotation that given to the first the original triangle 2 times. Okay, so this this symmetry we call it A square. Okay, so the last rotation symmetry is the rotation of 360 degree. Okay, but in this rotation, number 1 comes back to its original place. Okay, so we call it this symmetry is identity. Okay, the next symmetry is the reflection through the corner 1. Okay, we can see that the reflection by that's line switch the number 2 into number 3 and number 3 into number 2. Okay, but number 1 is still there. Okay, and the second symmetry is if we draw line cross the number 2 like this, so the number 1 and number 3 switch, and the last is if the line is cross number 3, we have the last symmetry. Okay, and I want to mention that the dihedral group is not the polygon itself. Okay, but the symmetry of the polygon. Okay, so we don't have the shape of group here. Okay, only the move of the polygon. Okay, so the first graph is identity graph. We want to define a graph on a group, and we call it identity graph of a group. Okay, identity graph of group G is a simple graph whose vertices are all the element of the group G, and 2 distinct vertices X and Y are adjacent if X times Y is equal to identity. Okay, by this definition, we know that the identity element cannot be adjacent to others element. But in this graph, we define that every element of group G is adjacent to identity. Okay, to make it sure that identity not the we can always have a edge with A. Okay, I will give you an example. If we have a integer modulo group Z3, we have 3 elements, and we know the inverse and of 0 is 0 itself. Okay, the binary operation is addition. Okay, and then the inverse of 1 is 2, and the inverse of 2 of course 1. So we have 1 and 2 always have an edge. So we can draw the graph like this. Okay, And remember that zero always, the identity element always have edge into any element. I will give you the second example. If we have a Z4, we have that 1 have inverse 3 and 3 also have inverse 1, okay? And 2, the inverse of 2 is on it, 2 itself, okay? And then we have this graph, okay? Okay, I will give another example. This is cyclic group order 6. We have this identity graph, okay? You can see that we have 2 triangle and 1 line, okay? This is the first triangle, this is the second, and this is the line, okay? This is important, okay? I will show you to the next example. This is dihedral group D6, okay? Okay, we have same 6 element, but we have different graph. This is we have 1 triangle and 3 line, okay? The question is, can we count the number of triangle and the number of line? Okay, I will give you 4 example. That the first one and the second one, it's same group, same order. D6 have 6 element and cyclic group order 6 have 6 element, but the identity graph is different. Okay, the first one have 1 triangle, the second one have 2 triangle. Okay, and in the other side, groups Z7 and the cyclic group order 7 have same identity graph. So it is interesting to see that when the graph is have same when the group have same graph and when not. Okay. Okay, this is another example. Have the same order. This group have same order 12, but different identity graph. Okay, we will look at the case of group of prime order. Okay, every group with prime order have triangle without line. Okay, all of the uh, the graph have only triangle without line. So we can have a conjecture that maybe if the group is have a prime order, then there is no lines in the identity graph. Okay, this is how I work on this research. So the first theorem is, if J is a cyclic group with order P and P is odd prime, then the identity graph of J only contain of triangle without line. Okay, and the number of triangle is P1, P minus 1 per 2. Okay. Okay, the second theorem, it's not only prime order. If the order is odd, if n is odd, then the identity graph of G only contain a triangle without line with same number. Okay. The third theorem is, if the order of the cyclic group is even, then the identity of graph is contain of n minus 1 per 2 of triangle with 1 line. Okay. This theorem only work on cyclic group. Okay. And we will move into the second graph. It's coprime graph. Okay, in this graph, if we have a group G, coprime graph of G is a simple graph. Our vertices are all element of G, and two distinct vertices X and Y are adjacent if the order of X and the order of Y is relative prime. Okay. So I will give an example. You remember this D6, okay? Okay. I will show you that the order of each element. Okay. Identity, of course, the order of identity is 1, and the order of A and A square is 3. The orders mean that uh, if A is belong to group G, and then if n is the least natural number such that the power of n is equal to identity, then we call n is the order of the element G. Okay. So we know that the rotation of the triangle is 3, and then the reflection element B, AB, and A square B is 2. Okay. So we have that if this one is E, this one is A, this one is A square, this one is B, this one is AB, and last one is A square B. Then we know that B and identity always have H into every element. Okay, and B and A, because 3 and 2 is relative prime, we have an H from B to A. Okay, also B to A square. Okay, same argument, we have AB to A and AB to A square. Okay, also A square B. And this is the graph of coprime graph. Okay, we can see that this graph is a tripartite graph. Okay. Okay, the question is, when a dihedral group is become a tripartite graph, or so on. Okay. Okay, this is the fourth theorem. If n, the order of the to n, okay. If n is p the power of k, and p is an odd prime number, then the coprime graph of d to n is a complete tripartite graph. This is easy. How to prove it? Easy, because if n is p to the power of k, then we only have element. We have three partition of the vertices. The first partition only contain of E identity, and the second partition only contain a reflection element with order 2. Okay, and the last one is only contain element with order P. Or not order P, order P or P to the power of something. Okay, so every order in in the middle cannot be adjacent, because the order is 2. Okay, all of the element order 2, and in the third partition, all the element cannot be adjacent, because the order must be P or P to the power of something. So this is how to prove it. Okay, and the fifth theorem, that this is if n is the prime factorization. Okay, and pi is a distinct odd prime, then the coprime graph of d to n is m plus 2 parted. Okay, how to prove it? It's quite easy. We can have m plus 2 parted. The first partition is all element with order p1, and the second partition is all the element of order P2 or P2 to the power of K2 power of something, and all until this is the element of the vertices that have order Tm or Tm to the power of something. Okay, and this is we have M partition, and the other two partition is, the first one is all the reflection element, which is all the element we that have order 2, and the last one is the partition that contain only identity. So we have M plus 2 parted. Okay, the last one is non-coprime graph. This is a dual version of coprime graph. We have same. Okay, I mistake something here. The non-coprime graph of group G is a simple graph whose vertices are all elements of G without identity. Okay, and two distinct vertices X and Y are adjacent if the order of X and Y is not 1. Okay, okay. Sorry, the GCD of order X and Y is not 1. Okay, so that means that X and Y is the order of X and the order of Y is not relative prime. Why we dismiss E? Because in coprime graph, E always connected to other element. In non-coprime graph, of course, E cannot be adjacent to any other vertices in G. Okay, but in identity graph, we give definition that E always adjacent with other element. But why in non-coprime graph we not doing the same definition like identity graph? Because we want non-coprime graph is the dual facet of coprime graph. So if in coprime graph X and Y is adjacent, we want in non-coprime graph X and Y is not adjacent. So that's why we cannot do the same like in identity graph. Okay, with same procedure, we can have if n is p to the power of k, then the non-coprime graph of D to n can be partitioned into two disjoint complete graph. Okay. Okay. The proof is simple because we don't have identity. Okay, we have like in coprime graph we have two partition. Okay, without identity. The first one is the vertices with order 2, and the other is the partition with vertices with order p or p to the power of something. So in coprime graph we don't have vertices in this partition that adjacent each other. Also in this partition, no vertices in this partition have adjacent to other, but we have that every vertices in the first partition always adjacent to every partition, every vertices in other partition in coprime graph. So in non-coprime graph we have the opposite. We also have all the vertices here always adjacent to all vertices in this partition, but no vertices in this partition have adjacent to the second partition. Okay, so we have the first one is a complete graph and the second one is complete graph. So we have the coupling graph of D to N when N is P to the power of K can be partitioned into two disjoint complete graph. Okay, the second one, if N is prime factorization like this, okay, we have that the non-coprime graph of D to N has M plus 1 disjoint complete subgraph. Okay, the proof is similar to the previous theorem, but with a more complex procedure. Okay, this is my reference. I will stop here. I will give back to the moderator. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. That's a very technical talk. Well, I allow some question to ask to the presenter. You can use chat box or you can say it directly to the presenter. Okay. Question? Okay, I think from student okay. Okay. Professor, please, you can say it directly or you can, okay, you can say it directly. Okay. Time's yours. Prof. Nana, do you have question? Prof. Nana? No.
Mudah Anda.
Hello? Professor Nana, do you have question? From the audience, probably, if you have question.
Panengahnya kayaknya emang diplot untuk bertanya.
Any question?
Nah, semuanya nggak ngerti atau? Iya. Jelas. Bukan orang algebra.
Okay, while waiting for other people to ask question, I have one question for you, Mr. Aditya.
Yes.
Is Mr. Aditya still here?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not an expert in this field, yeah. My doctor is in the field of differential equation, yeah, not in the field of algebra or graph theory, yeah. Then I'm going to ask a very general question, yeah. In education or math education, I think a question of where we are going to use this idea. Something like that is a very popular question that usually asked by students. By speaking it out or silently. And it's good to you if you can tell us an application or an imaginative application of all of the talk you have delivered. Can you tell us about that?
Okay, thank you for the question. This is the nice question because I work on pure math, so all my works or maybe all the works in pure math, it's want to answer that what happened if we have this facts or this data. Okay, so I hope that if I give I publish my work about this type of research, and maybe if someone there can see the application of my my research. So for me, personally, I just want to know what happened, what can be we can see from this theory. Okay, so I do my research with my friends and my student, and we have those results. Okay, we have so many results, but I only pick selected of them, and hopefully we can have the application later. But today I only want to see what happened if we define those, if we define this, only that. Because not every pure math doing something for application. Maybe like Ramanujan and Hardis, they work on number theory, and like everyone say that you do nothing, but later we have that all the work of Hardis and Ramanujan is applicable to cryptography and coding theory. Okay, thank you.
And in the field of computer.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that's good. So you let other people to see the application of what you have done. Okay. You're waiting for that. Okay. Is there any other question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Professor Sudiarto. Okay, please. You have your time.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. Yes, talking about graph theory, graph in practice is actually, I don't know actually exactly because of the very fast development of technology right now. Can you explain it more further about the application of graph theory in practice in related to the fast development of technology? Because it looks like that you're just doing trial and error in this case. I wanted to find out more about the reasoning skill of the way you find the graph, for example. Yes. Yes, this is very vast question maybe, But in my concern that in related to the development of critical thinking or reasoning, it is very important to develop the method that you develop to find a new graph and to prove the axiom of graph, for example. It's look like for me it's like just a trial and error like that.
Magic.
This is maybe it is based on a very skill that people need or student needs upgrade. Can you elaborate it more about that?
Okay, thank you very much. I'm not an expert in graph theory actually. Maybe the title have graph on it, but actually it's group theory. We want to see a groups in the in okay. We want to see group to have more nice geometry representation. So we use graph to describe that group. So actually I work on group theory. I just only use graph on the group, okay? And actually it's not at first I trial and error to find the conjecture. It's a basic skill to prove something. We need what happened, okay? So we try some cases. We can see in that case we have something like this. So we have question: is in every case will be like that? Then we prove it in mathematics way, okay? So the first we study the several cases. That is what you say trial and error. But after we have some insight about what happened or a conjecture or hypothesis, we prove it by Mathematica. Okay, so I think that's the critical thinking of my research, that from several cases we want to know if it will be okay in all cases. Okay, if not, we state that cannot, and if it's true, then we have a theorem that every cases that dihedral group must be a m+2 parted graph, something like that. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you. But I think I just wonder about the practical application of that axiom that you have recreated. How can we implement it actually in practical way about the axiom or theorem that you have created in this research?
Okay, I already explained it in the first question, but I work on pure math, not in applied math. So I want to know what happened. The motivation is I want to know what happened if we have these facts, okay, or these premises. I want to know that. Okay. So about application, maybe because I work in group theory, the motivation is not about how to apply it into something practical. Okay. Because this a graph that defined on group is very new topics, so we don't have something practical application about it yet. Okay, this is
Is it totally pure mathematics?
yes, it's totally pure mathematics.
So then we'll be back again to the formal mathematics, or just what Professor Don Paul said. For example, this is about certainty, or this is about the formal theorem.
Approximation.
So we far away from mathematical modeling, like we hope that about approximation, contrasting new idea, maybe very different perspective about this philosophical view of mathematics that we want actually to bring more friendly, applicable mathematics, not just a pure mathematics like that. But it's a very different perspective of way.
Yes.
But thanks so much for your talk.
Yes, that's exactly. We have a different motivation.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe Prof. Don, say more.
Yes, please, Professor Don Kos, you have your time. Suarsan.
But modeling about
Made Suarsana, you have any question?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And after this, Professor Kos will going to have their what? Yeah?
Maybe Prof. Don Kos first.
Okay, Professor Don Kos, yes, we appreciate your question. Yeah. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sure. Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. I really don't have a question, but I want to enter this conversation between my friend Professor Gusti and the speaker. It's a very nice discussion about the pure math versus applied math. And I guess that I don't really. In fact, I have a paper from sometime. Maybe I send you about there's a continuum between pure math and applied math, and it's a long continuum. But just for fun, let me say that we should not hassle. That means bother. We should not bother the speaker about what his applications are, because we need all kinds of people in this world, and we need like this. His work is an example of beautiful work, because he's trying to find some graphical representations for the structure of groups. What a beautiful thing, because groups themselves are more algebraic, and he's trying to elucidate, to find some more geometric representations of the structure of groups. Beautiful. No, we don't need to ask him about what graphs. He's using graphs, right? He's finding his structure, his geometric structures are graphs, right? In the technical definition of what a graph is, right? What about graphs? Are they any good? Well, how about the graphs that represent the nodes? Those are the cities. The cities and the routes between the cities of Garuda Airlines. Yeah. So Garuda Airlines flies to all these different cities, and it has all these. And you need to study, like if somebody wants to go from A to B, how do they do it? And those are all questions in graph theory, and graph theory provides theorems, which theorems do what? Theorems illuminate. How about mencahayakan? They illuminate structure. They illuminate structure. Yeah, that's what theorems are. And so we need his kind of people, because the airlines use it. When they develop the ticket for the guy to fly from A to B, how to do it. This is all graph theory, application of graph theory. Anyhow, I think that both of you are so fun. It's very nice listening to the topic. Yeah, very nice. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, very nice and wise comment from Prof. Dao.
Thank you for your enlightenment. Okay, Made, do you still have a question?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rade. Mr. Rade, I saw your presentation, and I have teach about abstract algebra. We know that visualization for the group that I have learned is about a Cayley diagram. Do you have heard about it? Yeah, that it's constructed by its generator element. Okay, from your presentation, I have inspired to another visual of group. Another visual of group that will make our group theory will more concrete, I think. My question is from your presentation about identity graph. Nah, is one group will have more than one identity graph representation or just one only? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for your question. It's a simple answer. It's only one. If you have one group and then the representation of graph, we only have one. Okay. The next question is, if we have two representation of group, that it's isomorphic in the sense of graph.
Isomorphic, yeah.
Yeah. Is the group also isomorphic? This is the question that cannot be answered easily. Okay, but in some cases, yes, the group is isomorphic too. But in some cases, the group not isomorphic. So this is the more general question that until now we cannot confirm exactly that if the graph representation is isomorphic, and then we cannot be sure that the groups is isomorphic. Okay, that's that I can answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Radit.
I think the time is up. It's already 10:50, and I apologize if there is still more question from you, and for that you can write it directly to Mr. Aditya. And for now, I would like to say thank you very much for Mr. Aditya for being here, for sparing your precious time for improving our knowledge about the graph and algebra. And for that, I have the duty to give you a certificate for your presentation. Let me. Oh, it's already presented by. Sudah dianu Pak Suarsana?
Sudah Pak, sudah muncul juga.
This is your certificate, and but beyond this, I have to say thank you very much for your contribution to this seminar.
Okay, thank you.
If you have any word to talk, please do it, Mr. Aditya.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we have to end this session. Again, thank you very much for your nice participation. Okay.